So there's an old saying that there's one born every day, and in this cabinet, in this government, frontier touring and the people organising influencer camps and freebie deals have found their mark. This government, sir, has been willing to sign off on campaigns, and indeed the Minister for Tourism just admitted that she herself personally approved expenditure on campaigns that have left other states laughing at South Australia. That indeed have been identified by advertising experts and gurus, including Labor's favourite, Dee Madigan, who ran the Ambos Union campaign in the election, as completely missing the mark. Sir, it is extraordinary that the minister comes in here with so much front to suggest that these innovative campaigns, such as getting influencers to come to a Sam Smith concert paid for largely by the people of South Australia to promote Sam Smith's album, to promote Sam Smith's tour, allegedly to promote South Australia, but with no evidence suggesting that it's done so. And meanwhile, this government is paying influencers to come here, fly here, stay in fancy hotels, drink taxpayer-paid-for alcohol, and indeed have the time of their lives, to get, as one of the TikTok stars described themselves, a bit messed up, to talk about vaping, to indeed post photos of themselves at McDonald's and to talk about South Australia in some really unusual terms for a marketing campaign. This is what this minister said was disruptive, was quirky, was reaching a new audience. So there are people that have different views on the quality of this campaign, and I'll advise the House of a few of them. Dee Madigan, as I mentioned, from Campaign Edge, said of the campaign, "I get what they're trying to do, but it's not a smart strategy." Barry Urquhart of Marketing Focus replied when he was asked if these campaigns worked. He said, when he was asked, does influencing actually work? He said, increasingly not so. I think a lot of people are now starting to say there is a credibility gap on what they're trying to influence if there's a financial gain, which of course everyone knows there is. Matthew Abraham, not a well-known cheerleader for the South Australian Liberal Party, he wrote he told 5AA listeners last week, the influencer strategy is morally bankrupt. They should dump it, and so I'm giving Zoe Bettison 2 out of 10. And on ABC Radio last Monday night, the Minister for Human Services was asked about this. She said, look, with this particular one, I think they've certainly learnt some lessons, and these are decisions that people have to make all the time. Do you have this face fronting a brand, or do you have this face fronting a charity, ambassadoring for you? They're difficult choices, and due diligence has to be shown. So in this case, it's very clear that due diligence was not shown. A case was put to the Minister for Tourism. She just admitted it was put to her herself, and she thought that it was a good idea. She thought that amidst a cost of living crisis, where South Australian taxpayers are fighting hard to deal with escalating bills, $17,000 a year, increased cost of living for the average mortgage holder in South Australia, and they're asked to stomach the idea that an innovative, quirky, disruptive campaign that the Minister for Tourism likes is worth their hard-earned. Sir, it's actually really galling. It is an extraordinary misuse of taxpayers' funds. And the fact that, despite the fact that their estimates of how many people would see the campaign have been wildly overblown and shown to be so by their own research, the minister is still out there defending it day after day, talking about disruption. In fact, today in question time, 3 questions was the minister asked, and most of her responses talking about the government's approach to tourism was to talk about the events. The Gather Round, which of course the opposition supported, the Live Golf, where the South Australian government gave money to the Saudi Arabian government, and indeed, of course, the 500, which isn't even in the Minister for Tourism's portfolio. It was taken away from her and handled by the Premier and, for some reason, the member for Mawson. The fact is that the minister's running of the tourism department is in serious. Sir.
I see there's a point of order from the member for Mawson.
The member said that the South Australian government gave money to the Saudi Arabian government. It did nothing of the sort, and I ask the member to withdraw.
Order. I'm not certain that the point of order that has been raised finds a home in any of the points of order, or rather in the standing orders before me. If it is the case that the member has taken offence in relation to matters raised in the House, then I will need to know what it is exactly that identifies the member himself, and I'm not sure necessarily the comments did. Order! We're addressing the point of order raised by the member for Mawson.
Sir, I was saying that the member was misleading the House. He caused no offence to me.
Order. Order. If that be the case, there is a procedure for ensuring that that matter, if it be the case, be dealt with. But this is not the appropriate course to do so. I'm going to return to the member for Morialta.
So the South Australian government gave money to Live Golf. Live Golf is financially interested by the Saudi Arabian government. That was the point I was making. Sir, amidst a cost of living crisis, this government is giving money to influencers to get drunk and to talk about South Australia in completely unflattering terms. It's giving money to Sam Smith, an international superstar, to promote his album and to promote his tour. Sam Smith and Frontier Touring got great value out of this deal. South Australians did not, and it is a disgrace. It took 10 years for South Australians to find out that the Labor Party in government paid nearly $4 million to Lance Armstrong. They should front up and admit how much they have paid for these influencers and for Sam Smith, and so that the South Australian people can judge whether this extraordinary waste was worth their dollars.